When ads on, most founders panic and start changing everything. What I want to show you is how to review ad performance without reacting emotionally, so you know what actually deserves attention. And these are two layers that I care about when reviewing ad performance. Daily tells me if something is broken, and weekly tells me if it's actually improving. One is a daily recording, which is essentially ad spend. So we need to know how much we spent. Ad unique clicks. We need to know how many clicks we actually got from the ads itself. I also look at the count to see which ads are performing the best. And then we've got conversion tracking. Now, depending on what your goal is, on this specific campaign that we're going to look at today, the goal is to get trials. We've switched the offer to a 14-day trial. And so that's outside of the 7-day attribution window that Meta has. So we can only go for trials. We can obviously go for landing page views or whatever, but we're looking for customers, right? So that's what we look at on the ad side daily. And then also we look at the funnel. Now on the funnel itself, we obviously have the landing page, and this is landing page views, unique. If people landed on the page multiple times, we don't care. We want to make sure that it's unique people. Then we have, obviously, the next page is the order pages. Again, unique, but I'm not going to write that down. Then we have, obviously, trials, because that's what we're targeting, or conversions for each offer, right? So we have a monthly tier and we have a weekly tier. So that's what we're going to record there. The other thing we look at, and I'm going to switch to this view here quickly. So we have the funnel here inside of Go High Level. I've got this week already mapped out. And then we've got, obviously, subscribers, right? So conversions, subscribers. So these are free trials and subscribers. So this is exactly the same for weekly. So I'm just going to go down here, put here weekly. I'm going to just copy these and put these down here, weekly. Now, the question is, why do we do it daily? Well, we need daily conversion numbers. Daily gives us the ability to see when ad spend is high. We get to see just patterns in the data, right? And it's obviously the same for weekly, although we're not going to get daily results here, but we're going to see weekly trends, weekly patterns. So what I've done is I've set up this weekly campaign and I've got ad spend. Now the weekly report is basically needs to be recorded, right? I've just copied the template off of the daily. And so you can see here, if we just look at the last 3 days, today's numbers have already been updated. So I'll walk you through this. So Meta ad spend was 31 on the 5th, 39. So it's more or less the same. Ad budget is $30 or £30 for this specific campaign at the moment, daily. We have these number of clicks. We're not spending on Google right now, but I have a placeholder there for Google. So we're recording the total ad spend, the unique clicks, right? So this is from ads itself. How many unique clicks came over to the page? Ad trials, which is what Meta is recording as far as conversions goes. And then here's all the landing page data, right? So you can see from this side, 25th to the 31st, I'll record those numbers here, but that's basically where we get that. These all come from Meta Ads Manager. These all come from Meta Ads Manager. These come from Go High Level. Member CPA is a calculation on this page. So on this particular day, we didn't get any members in, right? No signups, but I'll explain that process in a second. And then here we go, sales breakdown for each day, right? So weekly, monthly, total trials is calculated here. Total expired. So remember, we have a 7-day and a 14-day window. And what we did yesterday, I should probably record this, is switch to a 14-day trial. So this expired. So right now this is referencing the 31st of January, but all of these people are now on a 14-day trial. So I'm going to highlight these two cells just as a reminder for myself to go back and check those numbers or double check those members, because the window is going to be further along. So essentially it's like people so these 14 trials are only going to expire after 14 days. So essentially it's going to be 7 blocks over or 7 cells over, right? So I'll fix that later. Ad trial CPA, that's basically how many trials did we get? This is in platform, so in Meta. How many trials did we get out of for the ad spend? What's the cost of those people? Trial conversion rate is on the landing page itself. So we had, from the ads, ad trial conversion rate, 6 trials from 21 landing unique clicks, 28%, which is really good. trial conversion rate, which is overall. We got 13 trials total for the day out of active users, unique active users. Trial conversion rate is the trial to member conversion rate, which is the how many members did we get from the trials. Expired trials, this is, sorry, members, this is member calculation, how many members we got weekly, how many members we got monthly, and I think I'm gonna switch these over because weekly, we have weekly first in all of the tables, and then here percentage taken weekly, how many people took weekly versus monthly, and then your member conversion rate, which is what percentage of members are converting from trial. So 3% is not too bad, but we've had 40% when results were really good. So there was an influx of members at this point or a week before that. That's basically what the conversion rate is there. And then we calculate value. So it's like how much money did we collect? And we do some calculations down here to see what money we made. So that's essentially how that works. And I'm going to go calculate or capture these weekly numbers. So I have go high level on the side here. So we have 301 on the homepage, on the landing page. We have weekly 149. We have monthly 7 people landed there. We have subscribers. How many people landed on the subscribe page? 78. And then we go to trials. So trials is essentially the sales column, 69 and 1 weekly. Total trials was 70. Trials expired 9. I think we need to maybe just recalculate that or figure that out from the table before, but I'll do that later. Trial CPA, so that's how many ad trials did we get? So I'm going to go into Meta, and I'll put Meta here on this table or on this tab. And so we're looking at the week before 25 to the 31st, and this is everything that we've got here. So let's first go to, now we had 2 campaigns running. One was different tracking, different conversion tracking, but I'll show you that in a second. Amount spent, so we spent 0 on this campaign, but 34.75 on that campaign. Okay, so the number here was 34.75. And the reason I'm only counting the trial or the conversion campaigns is because the video views I'm not counting as part of this exercise because video views don't have a link on it, right? We're only collecting views on this campaign itself for now. All right, so unique clicks, we're at 247. So let's go back here, 247, and we had trials. Now, trials, as I said, we were tracking and, I had to fix the conversion pixel, etc. But I've got a column here that is tracking trials. So trials started and trials monthly. So we were using this tracking. So I'm going to count this higher number. So we had 6 from that week, which obviously seems fairly low because we had actually 149, but we had a lot of organic traffic towards the end of January. And so that's why that number is very, very different. So member CPA is 1 member. We got 69 trials, 70 trials in total. Ad trial CPA from the conversions from Meta itself were £5 each at a 2.43% conversion rate, but actually the funnel itself is converting at 23. So that's kind of the benchmark. Trial to member conversion rate is 1.43, which is 1 member out of 70 trials, which is totally fine. So let's look at this next week. Now this week isn't complete yet, so I will come back tomorrow and update these numbers. But let's go to ads first because that's the top of the spreadsheet. So we're looking at the 1st to the 7th. And of course, like I said, today is not a full day. So now you can see we switched over the campaign and we started tracking differently. So 105 plus 59. So I'm going to just pull up a calculator here quickly on the side, or I can do it inside of the spreadsheet. 59 plus 105 in terms of trials, 59 plus 105. My bad. That's this number. And unique clicks, we also need to do a calculation here. Unique clicks was 192 plus 303. 192 plus 303. So we have 495 people from ads, and let's go to spend. So spend 154.91, and I'm going to use a calculator now, plus 67.87. So that's these 2 numbers, this campaign and this campaign, which is 222.80. 222.80. And we had link clicks, unique link clicks, 192 plus 303, 495. So I think I put that in the wrong column, 495. total ad unique link clicks. This should actually be a sum. So that's perfectly fine. So that's Google plus that. Ad trials we have already. So landing page views, we have uniques here for home. Now we also had home depreciated. I just want to double check the week before because we did switch the funnel. So the depreciated homepage, which we changed from, so we had 301 on that one and we had 502. So this number is actually 301 plus 512. That makes more sense. So trial conversion rate is 13%. Okay, good. Let's go back. 1 to the 7th. Now I know that this might seem like a laborious process, but you'll see the benefit of this in a second. Okay, active homepage users. We had 1158 plus 20. Weekly, 232. Monthly, 15. Subscribe page, there's only one, 12, which we already have on the sheet itself. Okay, now we go to trials. So we got 64 plus this 121 on the weekly. On monthly, we had 3. Total of 188 trials. 5 expired with a trial CPA of 136. Trial conversion rate, so trials coming from ads, 33%. Trials coming from the landing page, 15.96%. And member conversion rate is at 1.6%. So these numbers are quite telling, right? Obviously, you can see that there's growth. We've obviously spent quite a bit more in terms of ads. We got almost double the amount of traffic from ads, and we had double the amount of landing page views, as well as doubles the numbers of weekly people coming to the page, which obviously based on percentages makes sense. Double the number of monthly, so that's perfectly fine. Subscribers went down though. So we had a bit of a performance glitch in terms of the actual product itself this week. So that's also why we changed it to a 14-day trial, which is totally fine. Member CPA, so this is the cost to acquire a paid subscriber. Actually, it should be subscriber CPA. So let's copy that over to the daily. So what does this tell me? This tells me that things are tracking fine, but we need more trials to convert to paid subscribers. And how do we do that? We get them to the subscribe page. Now, how do we do that? Well, we just deliver a good product, essentially, right? One thing we could track in the future is how many reviews did we get? If we wanted to track how many reviews we got per week. I think that makes sense on a weekly basis because it's not going to be daily for now anyway. And so that I think is important. And then as far as the campaign goes, I don't see any reason to switch the campaign. We do have ads in the pipeline. We do want to, we do have some changes coming up in the process, but this is why we're looking at these numbers. So essentially what I'm saying is we need to track this daily because daily gives us a view of how things are going on an ongoing basis, right? Every single day we can see what we spent. We can track to see how much money has come in. We can track what the costs are, and it gives us a bird's eye view on a daily basis as to what's going on. Now, if trial conversion rate drops, or if it goes up or whatever, based on changes that we made, obviously we make changes. We make changes on the page. We make changes of the offer, and we make sure that those are converting. And what it gives us is data to see whether those changes worked or not, just from a high level, from a daily point of view. And then weekly, of course, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, we spent something like 220. We're probably going to spend about 30 today again. So we're going to end up on like 250 a week for this week. And maybe we want to increase spend because, well, if the numbers are stable, then, we can increase that. Also, from a campaign point of view, we can see whether tracking is working. We can see a whole bunch of things in terms of traffic and those things. Another thing that I would suggest we do is we use Microsoft Clarity. So I'm going to open a window here and I'm going to go to Clarity, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what Microsoft Clarity does. So I'm going to switch the project to Gold Signal, and Clarity, if we look at the last 7 days. So the last 7 days will give us from the first to today, and it's going to give us a whole bunch of data. Now, this is set up loosely. We added the tracking pixel from Clarity to the page inside a Google Tag Manager, and so all of those things are working. We can see that people are going about 50% through the page, which is a really good sign, and they're spending about a minute to on the page itself. People have an average of 1.38 sessions. We had 1,529 people sessions coming to the homepage, and then there's a whole bunch of data down here. So speed, Clarity is telling us that the page is loading fast. It's decent, but the next paint, right? This needs work. We need to improve the speed at which the next paint shows up, layout shifts, etc. Now those are a little bit technical. We can see sort of which pages are getting the most traffic, etc., etc. So what I'm going to go do here very quickly is the page that's gotten the most traffic, which is we're running the split test between these two, and I'll show you inside of high level as well. We've got this split test running, so I'm just going to separate this view here, and so you can see that on this we've got these two pages running as a split test, and it's showing all the page views, the opt-ins, and the sales. So we've got now. This is a bit of a tricky metric. This is showing a 14% opt-in, but if we go for the last week, right, we can see 57 on this weekly trial. Now, essentially what we have is this homepage doesn't have an opt-in form on it, but the second one, the variation does. So this is showing the 14.7, but when they go to the trial, it's a 57% conversion rate on that page itself, right? Actually 51 to trial, 13% to trial there. So what this is telling me is if we take this 314 and we divide it by the number of people that went to that homepage, 961, right? So 314 divided by 961, which is 32%. So 32% of people are actually going to the weekly page and converting, which is much higher than this split test page of 13%. So my guess is we need to most likely turn off the split test because it's giving us a better conversion rate. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now because I think that test, while it was a good test, it's not working as well as I would have liked. So I'm going to declare this the winner. And on the tracker, on the daily, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say here split test update, or just split test. And we're going to say control 1, no opt-in. So this page is now depreciated, and so will show up on the stats in that way. We still have access to the data, so the page is updating. We still have tracking. We still know what's going on there, but most people are going to go to the weekly. Okay, so coming back to Clarity, I'm going to go to this homepage, the one that's doing better, and I'm going to quickly look and see what's going on over here. Now, we have this cookie bar, which obviously shows up, and so that's telling us, this is definitely needed on the page. So obviously there's a lot of activity here because people are accepting the cookie bar, just whatever. And then obviously we have clicks on this page, which is showing a lot of people going to the login page, a couple of clicks on the trial over here. There's a bit of activity down here in terms of last results. People want to see what the last results are. There's a little bit of activity over this button here, a couple of clicks over there, a little bit of action on this example of the signal that we send, a lot of activity on this calculator, right? 12% of people are clicking on that. And then a couple of people are clicking on the trial button underneath. So we can see what people are doing on this page. If we look at scroll, and if you remember, scroll depth was something like 40 something percent, right? 41%. We go back to the heat map and we can see which areas of the page. So above the fold obviously is a lot of traffic because that's what shows on the page initially when they load. And then half of the people are dropping off by the time they get to the results page. By the time they get here, there's 25%. Now, you might think, oh, by the time they get to the bottom of the page and they see the pricing, there's not that much. There's maybe 20% of people seeing this section here, but that's okay because maybe 20% of the people are actually clicking the buttons and scrolling all the way down to that pricing, to those pricing tables. And so that's pretty good. Now, the analysis on this page, usually I use the attention sort of graph, and this shows you, okay, there's not much activity over here, more activity on the results itself. There's some activity here by the calculator, which we saw in terms of clicks as well. And then there's this section here where people are obviously looking at the weekly. It looks like the free trial is not getting a lot of attention, but the weekly is definitely getting some attention. People are obviously more inclined to that. And then the FAQ. Now, for FAQ, the most commonly asked questions is, what if I didn't make any money? And if we look at the taps on that section, which is usually very, very telling, what if I didn't make any money? There's 1% of people that are down here that are looking at this. And remember, there's like 20% or 15% of people that are down here at this part of the page. This button is obviously showing up way too large, so that's maybe something we need to change on the page. But other than that, the attention graph is showing pretty much what we would expect, and people are sort of scrolling down. What we could do here, what this graph is telling us, is that perhaps we could test a new headline or test a different section up here on the homepage. So what I'm going to do is make some changes in the week to do that, because I think it's important to showcase, or it is important to test what the hero section does as well. So how do I actually track what's working on this page? Now on this tracking sheet, I have a table here, or I have a spreadsheet, which is basically the CRO tracker. Now what this is, CRO is conversion rate optimization. And so what this does is it gives me a view, or I record all of the activity in terms of what Clarity is saying. I've got the structure of the page down here, and I've got the stats in terms of what percentages people are, or, where are people clicking in terms of the page, or relative to the page. So I think let's go ahead and do this comparison right now. And what I'm going to do here is edit the areas. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Let's keep this up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to record the last 7 days. So we're going to go from the 1st of February to the 7th of February. February 1st to February 7th. So we had views on this page, 421 and 839 taps. Okay, now, important to note, we have obviously mobile and desktop. So we have mobile right now visible, and we'll go through this process slowly. So I'm going to click edit areas, because the areas on the page is important. So obviously we have that login. We don't need this, but that's okay. We're editing areas. Okay. So login button, we don't need this bit. So first I'm going to just go highlight all the sections that we want to track. I suppose we could record that. We have that button already tracking. We don't need this one. We have the form field. We have this button. We have this button. We have this button. Next button. We have the video. We have this button. This one here is not necessary, but it's fine. Also not necessary. We have this video, which nobody's clicking on. Another button. Trustpilot, fine. Okay, then we got this button, and then the final button, and then the FAQ questions, and then this last button. So then I'm going to exit the areas, and then I'm going to go back to the top of the page, and I'm going to go start recording these things. So I need to add a row above here, because we added a login. And on mobile, we can see we had 2%, which was 24 clicks. We had the hero button, which is 69 clicks. Section 3, which is this section here. Section 3 button, 12. Calculator form, 105 and 103. And the calculator CTA 2. Now I just want to talk about this form quickly, because this form, it's basically telling me that sort of majority of the people are entering a number here and pressing the calculate, which is obviously the highest activity on the page so far. Okay, Y button, which is this section here, we have 7. Y goals happen, which is the next section, which is 3. Now, I think this is actually that button, because we removed these sections, or we switched them around. Okay, then we have a how button, which is 3. We have the first video, which is 27. The video button, which is 1. Why people love goal signal, 3. We have that. The second video, 0. We have the button below the video, which is 1. This is 4. 4. Testimonial section, 1. Then we have the CTAs. 24 on the free trial, 4 on the weekly, 1 on the monthly, 1 click on the guarantee, final CTA 1, and then the FAQ. 13, 8, 12. 1499, and then this final CTA is 3. Okay, so now we have that on mobile, and I'm just going to copy these formulas over so that we can see what's going on. Right, so this is obviously desktop, so let's go through desktop, and again we have to edit the areas, and the screen is really tiny, so let's see if we can get this done. We have the button there, we have the form, we have the button there, this button here, this button here, this button here, video button, button there, video, button there, button here, button here. Okay, exit those, and now let's go through this. Okay, so we have the login, which I did not edit, so let me record that. So 4 people on the login there. Hero button 7, section 3, 1, calculator form 8, 9, 0, Y 0, Y goals happen 0, how button 0, 4 people on the video, 0 down here, Y again, Y2, so that's 1. I think that's this one. One over there, one over there. This is button 0. What members are saying 0. Now we have free trial 4, 1, and 0. Guarantee 0, 0, 2. Sorry, 2 on the final CTA, and pretty much zeros down here. FAQ button 2. FAQ button was 2, final CTA 0. Okay, and then desktop views was 54 and clicks was 128. Okay, so I'm gonna make that smaller, and now I'm gonna look at these numbers. Okay, so obviously there's a huge variation, right? Majority of the traffic is mobile, so we only need to focus on mobile. We have a decent amount of engagement. So here's what we have. We have the login, which I need to add here, and I need to copy those over, and just need to make sure that this is referencing the right thing. So C37, which is total engagement. This is incorrect, so this needs to be F37, E37, correct. So now we take these, drop them down. Let's put a color on this because colors are nice. Okay, so what is this page telling me? Majority or quarter of the people are on the calculator, 15% clicking on the hero. And if you remember, we had, from a scroll point of view on mobile, we had, by the time they get to the calculator, we had 36% of people down here. So scroll depth here is 36%, 37%. We had total engagement of 400, and including the login page, login button. This is calculating correctly based on number of clicks. So 54% engagement on the mobile page, which is really good. Half of the people that are coming to this page are actually clicking buttons or doing some activity. And now what I've got here is basically just the CTAs separated. So this is people going to scroll. This is other engagement. So it's kind of E37 minus this. So everybody who's not scrolling, and then CTA clicks is 29. So that's 29 people who 3% of people are actually going over to the weekly page or to one of the offer pages, which is actually quite low. So what I think we could do if we go to the website is on this calculator, people are using the calculator, but they're not actually clicking the button. So what we could do is on this is maybe do a CTA at the bottom here, where it's like, okay, go sign up. That's something we can do, 3%. Now, if we look at the weekly and we say, okay, we had 1,000 people on the page, and let me close this out so that we can see this. So I'm going to duplicate this page, then go to split view and put this over here. And I'm going to go back to my CRO table. All right, so on the CRO table, we can see we have 33% ad trial conversion, but a 1.6% trial, 15% trial conversion rate, but only 3% of people are actually clicking buttons, 3.46 to actually go to the offer. So that's kind of interesting. It's like, okay, so 3% of people are going over to the weekly page, 29 clicks are going over to the weekly page or monthly page, but we know that we've had 185. So there's definitely something up with the tracking or whatever, right? So total of 34 CTA clicks here. It could be my calculations are wrong, but remember we also had that split test page. So we need to add the traffic on that split test page as well, because we obviously got a number of trials there as well. I'm not going to go through the process of actually recording all of those, but the way we do that in Clarity, I think I actually closed Clarity, but the way we do that is inside of Clarity, we'd go look at that other page. I'll create a second table here for the split test, and then go record those numbers and see what's cooking. So in the same way, we'd clear this, and then we'd go to the split test page, which is this. We'll go here to the last 7 days, hit apply, and go through this exact same process, right? So this is the split test page where we had the actual form. I'm going to close this, and we're going to do taps, and we're going to go areas, edit the areas. We have the button there already. Step 2. Now we could go ahead and track each one here. We have the button there already. We have the calculator. This one here is not necessary, but that's okay. We have this button. This button's not getting any action. For some reason, Clarity is not allowing me to click on it. Probably because there's no traffic on there. Clarity is bugging out. Okay, there we go. Okay, then the FAQs and then the final button. I'm not going to go through the entire sort of desktop setup as well, but let's go structure this. First, we have 431 and 1,116 tabs. We have the login, which is 19. We have a hero button. Now, let's go edit this again. We have this button. We have this form. Terms of service, I don't think we need. Okay, so in this section, we have not just a hero button, we have 3 fields above it for the split test. So here we're going to go with form, and I think that's name, form email, form phone, and then this is going to be form button. But that's okay. So let's record this. Login, we said we have 19, form name 136, 85, 71, 57, section 3, 13, calculator 1, 72, 78. Nope, 72, 78. CTA 8, Y button 3. We have 1 on the Y. So that was that one again. How gold signal works, 0. Okay. We have 2 clicks underneath the video. So video is 52 on the button. I'm just going to put that 1 click here on the how for now. Then we have 1 click under Y, which we already recorded. Then we have this video, which has got 0 views, 2 clicks on the button. Sorry, 0, 2. This is 1, 0. And then we have the trial buttons, 35, 0, 1. 35, 0, 1. Guarantee button 2. Final CTA 1. FAQ 15, 9, 12, 15, 15, 9, 12, 15, 15, 9, 12, 15, and then 11, 15, and then the final FAQ button 3. Okay, so let's copy these over and let's just make sure that the formulas are correct. Sum of that, division, calculation. Now in the CTA scroll, well, what we can do under CTA clicks is add this hero button, because that is a call to action. So you can see, even though, right, so let me shrink that. So what I can see is that despite this page, or despite this split test getting far more traffic, there's a lot more activity in the hero section, just in terms of percentage, right? So hero, I actually need to copy these 3 down here. This needs to be H. This was correct, E. All right, so let's copy this down. Right, so we have 42% of people actually engaging in this form right at the top of the page, despite the fact that it was generating a lower conversion rate, which I find hard to believe now that I'm looking at the data on the page. The majority, the rest of it, the page is fairly consistent. Obviously, the numbers are fairly low, but it looks like there was a little bit less engagement on this page, just in terms of ratio of clicks to views. We had 146 people clicking to scroll. Now, this scroll number, 50H12, should not be included in this because it's not a scroll button. This is actually a sign up button, and the calculator button as well, H15. Hero button on the original page was a scroll button. CTA clicks was only these 3 buttons. CTA clicks here was these 3 buttons plus the hero button. Now, hero button is actually a proper CTA, but we'll call it that. So it's kind of interesting because the split test shows that there's more engagement on the actual, there's more engagement on the CTA. Not sure why this space isn't working here. There's more people clicking on this page in terms of CPA than other pages on the other page. So let me go back to the numbers here on Go High Level, because I think we made a mistake. So we had on the split test page 64 conversions out of 484 people. That's a 13% conversion rate versus people going to the weekly trial. Now it's kind of tricky because this is blended, right? But if we can just humor this, 314 divided by 961, which was 32%. Yeah, the numbers are still telling me that the original page is still converting at a higher rate. But I think the trouble is that the button clicks on the original mobile page is not as high. These numbers are not calculated properly. 470. These numbers look right though. So it is kind of interesting because to me this form actually did a really good job of engaging people, but they didn't actually convert at a good enough rate over to the next page. So we're going to need to collect some data on this next page. Now that it's only one page, we'll compare next week's data to this week's data and see what's going on. So that was a long, laborious way of looking at clicks on the page, looking at the data, looking at the analytics, and saying, okay, well, what's going on? One thing we could do is go and look at the recordings inside of Clarity and see what those people have done. So essentially, that's how I manage these businesses. I follow this process for every single campaign that we run, every single client that I run. So if you like this video, if you want to follow along the journey, definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.